Bismillah ar-Rahman Rahim. Mr. Shabi Ikram, Mr. Ijaz Nisar, distinguished colleagues here, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I noticed that Mr. Shabi Ikram kept saying gentlemen. What about the ladies, the women, the women? Even though यहाँ सारे जालिम मर्द बैठे हैं, एक बिचारी बहादुर, one brave woman. What kind of imbalance is this in the CEO summit? You've got to get women entrepreneurs and drag them out of their profit-making businesses and make them stellar stars here. But I am privileged to be part of this very interesting gathering. My God, one after the other. Look at these gentlemen here. There's also not a single woman in your opening panel. I've just noticed to my horror, even though there are very handsome men here and very intelligent men, excluding myself, but this is a great event. It brings together people who have succeeded in leading their respective enterprises, who continue to bring new opportunities for growth, for employment, for livelihoods, for quality, for exports, contributing to the economy of Pakistan, to the political economy of Pakistan, because you're giving confidence and you're reflecting all the positive energy and qualities that this nation possesses. So really, it is much more than the narrow, relatively narrow sectors in which your companies operate. You are more than the sum of the parts of Pakistan. And the theme that the organizers have chosen is most interesting, because we live in a world today in 2025 where trust between nations, trust in nations, trust in the international institutions that we have created for the first time in history after the Second World War, institutions that have enabled legislation on a scale unprecedented in history, maritime laws, laws for international travel, trade, telecommunication. There has never ever been so many laws, treaties, pacts to regulate human activity across the planet. And yet today in 2025, trust has broken down. Trust not only in these international institutions, but trust between each other. And therefore, this theme goes beyond the challenges that Pakistan faces. We live in a world which is not to be distressed or depressed by. We need to retain that confidence. But we need to remember that Pakistan too is part of this global committee. And how do we address this in a country where trust today is in a deficit situation? Well, let me go completely irrelevant, because I love the way Ijaz invented this term. Instead of an ecosystem, the ego system. What a nice word, ego. And even I have an ego. My God, I have to contain it all the time. But this morning, looking at that national anthem being played, I couldn't resist the temptation of referring to it. Now, in the middle of talking about trust, why am I doing it? Because my ego is bothering me. It's bothering me because there is a perverse or a benevolent connection with the theme itself of trust. About 4 years ago, without my advance knowledge or agreement, the PTI government cabinet decided that the national anthem of Pakistan should be re-recorded for the first time after 68 years. And without my consent, they agreed that this task of chairing the steering committee should be entrusted to that very dubious character who lives in Karachi called myself. So when I got the news, I was very surprised, of course, honored, but mystified as to why, without even checking with me, they asked me to do this. So I took up the mission and found it fascinating, because the national anthem of Pakistan is such a beautifully written, beautifully orchestrated anthem. Of course, every country's citizens think their anthem is the most beautiful, which is also true. But our anthem is very special. It was originally recorded with just about 8 voices, and the words were written after the composition by Hafiz Jalandhari. After Mr. Chagla composed it, wrote it out, and specified every note. So when we looked at the task, one felt, first of all, the re-recording must reflect national participation. All voices that are fit to be recorded, who sing in their bathrooms and are undiscovered great talent, even they, and leading singers. So, all provinces and also all faiths, not just Muslims. We are enough, 97%. And professional singers as well as non-professional singers. And we must get the best instrumentation, use the best technology. And Pakistan doesn't have a standing orchestra unlike our brother country, Turkey, which has a magnificent standing orchestra. And we requested Turkey, I called up the president of the Turkish National Orchestra, and he loved the anthem, and he recorded it without charge, which we couldn't use because it was not vocal. So, why am I telling you all this story? Trust. When the government changed, I submitted my resignation. We were halfway through the process. They should have had the right to appoint a new chairman. But to my pleasant surprise, the new government, also the PDM government, wanted me to continue, which was very humbling because they trusted me. I don't know why they trusted me. But we managed to complete the task both of re-recording and of filming. Every single image that you saw was plotted very carefully. And we had a great team working together. I'm not taking credit for it. I'm just saying that it is possible to have trust even when governments change and conditions change and complete polarization grips the country. There is the scope for trust. And this reflects the fact that Pakistan, even in its current condition, where there is a breakdown of trust in institutions, whether they be the judiciary, the legislature, the executive, the military, the Election Commission of Pakistan. My God. I'm trying to think whether even during martial law there was such a breakdown of trust. Even in these conditions, Pakistan functions on the basis of trust. We know that the State Bank of Pakistan is a reliable regulator of banking. We know that when we are handling currency and putting money into the bank, that money will be treated as a trust. There is something called a sovereign guarantee. Pakistan stands by its sovereign guarantee. Pakistan has never defaulted on international debt. Despite being addicted to debt, we have never defaulted. So trust runs through us. We trust the NIC, we trust the passport. So there's a whole layer of trust that makes this country continue functioning. And yet at the same time, on the institutional level, there is a profound breakdown. Can we build it back to trust? Yes, I think we can. And where can that begin? We are going to learn from people far better equipped than I am. But it begins with each of us. It does not begin with an entity called the CEO Summit or the Pakistan Business Council or the Ministry of Finance. It begins with the core values that we practice in the family, in business, in our interpersonal relationships, in the communities we deal with. And look at what we can draw upon. I mean, this nation, amongst the most generous and compassionate people on earth, how we trust so many entities to make use of the charity we give them. Akhuwat is so well represented here by its leader, Amjad, how much we trust SIUT, Indus Hospital, SOS Children's Villages, Shaukat Khanam, how we give generously. And that charming survey of the Aga Khan Foundation 15 years ago, which said the rich in Pakistan give generously. But the unusual thing about Pakistan is that the poor of Pakistan give more frequently than the rich. Wah, wah, wah. Kya baat hai. Poor ke liye bhi zara taali bach jaye. He will give 1 rupee, 2 rupees, but one will help the other. So, within this incredible country called Pakistan and Pakistanis, barely 88 years old name, a name that was invented only 88 years ago, unlike Turkey, unlike even the historic islands of Indonesia, Sumatra, Bali, Java, hundreds of years old, resonant with time. Pakistan, a tender little name invented in 1933, and how it has come to embody confidence and pride and resilience, especially after 1971, when the majority of the people left Pakistan, the minority held on to the concept of Pakistan. We trusted in the original dream of Pakistan. We are still trying to aspire towards it and grow towards it. The second and last part of my submission is about growth. Now we live in a world where growth is the paradigm. Aha, the girl yawned. Thank you very much. She's reminded me when I should end. Aha, thank you, dear, thank you. And of course, my wife also is capable of yawning right in my face. And because he said, it's a treat, it's not a treat. Ask my wife, she never listens to me. And I'm glad she doesn't. But growth is the big definition of everything. Huh? Unless you grow, you're not doing good. With great respect, I believe we need to revisit this concept of growth. First of all, there can never be infinite growth. What are the limits of growth? How much do we want to grow as a planet? Is this planet, this poor, beleaguered, tormented, raped planet, capable of sustaining infinite growth for 8 billion people who will taper off at 8.5, 9 billion in the years ahead? But it's still an enormous strain on this beautifully unique ecosystem of our planet. There cannot be infinite growth. There has to be very controlled growth, balanced growth. But that's not the paradigm governments pursue, or the World Bank pursues, or all the others pursue. They want you to grow, and we want ourselves to grow. Some intellectual effort is being invested into trying to define a new paradigm, which is progress without growth. Is that an oxymoron? I mean, can there be progress without growth? Yes, there can be. And for that, I strongly recommend a book called Progress Without Growth by Tim Jackson. He was associated with the Sustainable Development Commission set up by the British government 12 years ago. But that paradigmatic shift is not easy to do. You have to prove it on the ground. How do we go about pricing the air? How do we go about really pricing water? How do we go about pricing every little leaf and insect? Every time you construct a building and you want to be like Dubai, we are destroying the habitat of a caterpillar or an insect. Is there a price? Or is the caterpillar just to be steamrolled in the name of growth? Because humanity must grow. And all the other species should die because we want to grow. So growth must be qualified with some adjective or noun before it. Balanced growth. Growth that respects the planet. Growth that respects nature. Growth that ensures equity and respect for human beings, and not just for the entrepreneur or the institution or the nation state. I don't know the answers to this, but I'm sure that humanity is capable of sanity, of pulling back from the brink, of handling nuclear power, not just to destroy as they did in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but for peaceful purposes. And look at the way Pakistan has set an excellent example. The Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission, whose work is very little known, outside the fact that Dr. A.Q. Khan came and built the bomb. That is less than half the story. The Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission is one of the finest national institutions built by Pakistan and recognized as such by the International Atomic Energy Agency, a state institution. And I want to end with this little example of excellence that Pakistan can achieve through the Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission and the Heavy Mechanical Complex Taxila. About 15 years ago, the Hadron Space Collider is the world's most advanced, most complex scientific instrument. It comprises long tunnels, hermetically sealed, in CERN, Switzerland. And it is studying the structure of the subparticles of the atom, the most mind-bending kind of scientific inquiry. Parts of the tunnel had disintegrated over a period of time. They advertised. Dozens and dozens of nations made their bids. 3 nations made it to the short list: Japan, China, and Pakistan. Pakistan beat out India, beat out every other country. And who made that bid? A partnership between the Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission and the Heavy Mechanical Complex. And who won the contract? Pakistan won the contract, beating Japan and China. And that is growth. That is growth with a purpose, growth with quality. And the people of Pakistan don't even know, because we are so busy being negative and nihilistic about ourselves, demeaning ourselves, and denying the strengths that we have. So I'm sure that the next few hours will be most instructive and full of wisdom. Thank you for your patience.